All right, hello, and welcome to the lecture on personal training and strength and conditioning. Now, I'm sure most of us have just kind of a general idea of what these professionals do. At the end of the day, they work with individuals to develop exercise and training programs, and then they implement those training programs. We're going to dive in a little deeper than that, obviously. So we're going to begin by talking just kind of about the difference between personal training and strength and conditioning. We're going to take a look at different organizations. Both of these professions are going to be certification based, so we're going to take a look at just some of the organizations that do that. Then we're going to take a look at the qualifications that you need to pursue either of these titles and careers, as well as look at some jobs in the field. So, to begin, let's kind of talk about the differences. And this picture here kind of says it all. Here on the left, we have what most people probably imagine when they think of a strength and conditioning coach, right? We have a guy working with a football player and he's yelling at him. And that is kind of that cliche look, right? Strength and conditioning coaches tend to work in athletics, tend to work with athletic teams, either at a college level, professional level, maybe with individual athletes even prior to that. And it is going to be training focused. So I think they do have that kind of, again, generic image of the guy or gal who's just yelling at people, getting them going, right? And you can see here just kind of a definition of a strength and conditioning coach that comes from the National Association of Strength and Conditioning. And again, we'll learn more about that organization later in this lecture. So they conduct sport-specific testing sessions. They design and implement safe and effective strength training and conditioning programs. They do provide guidance regarding nutrition and injury prevention. Personal trainers, on the other hand, while that image still might be true for some personal trainers, they tend to work more with a general population. So the average Joe and Jane. Personal trainers here, we can see our fitness professionals who develop and implement personalized exercise programs for individuals across a diverse set of health and fitness backgrounds, from athletes to individuals who only recently cleared to exercise. So this is just kind of broadly speaking. There are absolutely strength and conditioning coaches who work in a more general setting and with a more kind of general diverse clientele, and there's absolutely personal trainers who work more with athletes or individuals training for specific purposes. But kind of broadly speaking, again, it helps to think of our strength and conditioning as more athlete, more training focused, training that is in terms of sport or kind of specific endeavor, and personal trainers is more kind of general fitness oriented, working with the general population. So, talking a little bit about the organizations, the first we have here is the National Strength and Conditioning Association, or the NSCA. And this is the most kind of widely known and most reputable strength and conditioning association here in the U.S. You can see they've been around since 1978. They do certify about 30,000 strength and conditioning coaches, and they have 4 different levels of certification. Most jobs in the field, so if you were looking to work as a strength and conditioning coach at the collegiate professional level, most of the time they will require a certification through this organization. There's going to be a handful of other certifications out there, but again, this really is the gold standard for strength and conditioning. And you can see here just a number of their certifications. So the CSCS, or the Strength and Conditioning, Certified Strength and Conditioning Specialist, that's kind of the general one. That is the one that most individuals who go into this field are going to pursue. And we'll take a look at exactly what those qualifications are a little bit later. We also have the CSPS, the Certified Special Population Specialist. And that individual obviously is going to have specified training to work with specific populations around different disease states, physical inabilities, etc. The NSCA does have a personal trainer certification, so you can become a certified personal trainer through the NSCA. And then lastly, and this is a much newer one, as you can see from the established kind of data on it, they do a tactical strength and conditioning facilitator. So that individual is going to be working with law enforcement, SWAT team, etc. But again, the CSCS really is, if you're looking to go into strength and conditioning, is a certification that most individuals are going to pursue and that most organizations are looking for. Now, in terms of personal training, we could look at a whole bunch of different organizations. I mean, there's literally dozens and dozens of personal training certifications. But we're really only going to talk about two. And these are two of the kind of better known and more reputable certifications that are out there. And the first is from the American College of Sports Medicine. The American College of Sports Medicine, which is kind of the largest general sports medicine organization here in the country. And I've been to their conference. It's a couple thousand people every year going to their national conference. Anyone from physical therapists to personal trainers, exercise physiologists. The ACSM really is a giant organization. They do a lot of lobbying and kind of efforts for kind of sports medicine and fitness in general. And they've been around since the 1950s, about 50,000 members strong. And in terms of personal training certifications, they do offer four, but they offer certifications in other areas as well, some of which we either have or will be talking about as the semester goes on. And we can just get a look again at some of their different certifications. So if we, the standard one here being the ACSM certified personal trainer. They also have group exercise instructor, exercise physiologist, which is another one we'll talk about. They do have more clinical certifications and then specialty certifications as well, from anything from exercises medicine credential, which is an initiative that the ACSM has really been kind of behind in helping to promote, to a certified cancer exercise trainer, to a certified ringside physician. So again, the ACSM does a lot of work in terms of certifying individuals in a broad kind of variety of fitness-related kind of careers or titles. So the ACSM is definitely one that I would recommend to students if you're looking to pursue personal training. The other one that I would recommend is the American Council on Exercise, or ACE. I actually long ago used to be an ACE certified personal trainer myself. And that organization started in 1985, membership of about 60,000, and again we're looking at about four different certifications. So you can see here in terms of just kind of their general certifications, we do that personal trainer certification. They also have a group fitness instructor certification. They also have a health coach, so you can learn a little bit more about behavior change, get some general kind of fitness and nutrition information with that as well as this medical exercise specialist. And then you can see the rest of the more specialty certifications here. And most of those specialty certifications we add on. So you'd get that personal trainer certification to begin with, and you might add on to that whether it was a functional training certification, more of a fitness-based one. They also have a conditioning certification, or even the military support if you're looking to specialize with that population, or even a youth fitness certification. So again, they're going to get that general certification and allow you to further specialize and gain some expertise in certain areas if you wanted to pursue some of those. And that's just a way of setting yourself apart and showing some credentials in specific areas that other individuals might not possess. And again, this isn't to say that any other organization out there that does personal training isn't as reputable or isn't necessarily worth it. These are just the two that I have the most confidence in, the most confidence recommending to students. I actually did a few years ago as a project when I was a graduate student comparing different certifications when I was helping a large weight management program so they could help understand who they should have working in that weight management program. And we did come to this conclusion that these two organizations were the ones we felt best about. But again, that research was a couple years old, so if you have other organizations, you might want to come talk with me or just really look into it and make sure they're a good, reputable credentialing agency. So you have a credential that means something and that employers are going to value. So in terms of qualifications, we'll begin by looking at the strength and conditioning, the Certified Strength and Conditioning Specialist, the CSCS. All those C's and S's always get me a little tongue-tied. So to become a strength coach, you do have to have a bachelor's degree. You can sit for the test and begin the process as a senior, but ultimately to have the qualification, you will need a bachelor's degree. And you also have to have your CPR certification as well. And you can see here just kind of the breakdown of the exam in terms of what's covered on it. So it's mostly going to be exercise science, with a little bit of nutrition included there as well, at least for the scientific foundations part. So the first part of the test is going to be an hour and a half, focusing on anatomy, exphys, biomechanics, etc. And then you're going to have this practical or applied piece, which is going to be 2.5 hours in length. So again, you're looking at about a 4-hour test. And And on this part, they're really getting into kind of what you know and how you apply it. So there's going to be exercise technique, program design, organization administration, as well as testing and evaluation. And this is going to be done with videos and images to make sure you really understand how to teach exercise techniques and testing procedures, ultimately to athletes and under individuals training, since again we're talking about the CSCS. And that's really the main requirement: bachelor's degree, CPR certification, and pass the exam. In terms of ACSM certification, just for that general ACSM certified personal trainer, again, this is going to be an exam-based certification. So you're looking at a 150 question exam across 4 different domains. And you can see those here, each representing just about a quarter of the test, with the least amount of kind of attention paid to the legal, professional, and business and marketing side. So they're really looking at that initial assessment, the ultimate, the programming and implementation that then comes across from that, and that general exercise leadership and client education piece as well. ACSM is going to be very similar to what we just saw, ACE is going to be very similar to what we just saw for the ACSM. 150 question exam across 4 different domain areas: interview and assessment, program design and implementation, progress and modification, and that last kind of professional piece of conduct, safety, and risk management. If you're pursuing any of these certifications, and these last 2, both ACSM and ACE, you could pursue today. You do not need to have a bachelor's degree, just a high school diploma, to pursue either of those certifications. For some of their more advanced certifications or specialty ones, you might need that bachelor's degree, and that's where you have to look individually within each of those. But regardless, if you're preparing for any of these 3 exams, you probably do want to go ahead and look at securing some of the testing materials. We do utilize some of these materials in our classes. If you're taking some of the strength and conditioning courses we have, those texts are going to be useful, obviously. And we do use some of the ACSM materials in the health assessment class, for instance. But ultimately, I would highly suggest getting a exam prep materials, online tests, the book, etc. Really study for that. These tests are not cheap, so it's definitely worth your time and investment ahead of taking them. So in terms of kind of career outlooks, we do have some statistics here for personal trainers, and you can just see kind of average salaries across the country. Obviously, the areas where the cost of living is a little bit higher, like the West Coast and the Northeast, those individuals are going to be paid a little bit more compared to here in the Midwest. And you can just kind of see the breakdown for general personal trainers, group fitness instructors, as well as some of those advanced certifications. So if you're sticking around Wisconsin as a personal trainer, you're looking about an average salary of about $46,000 a year, about $23 an hour as a personal trainer. And you can see here kind of the breakdown of who personal trainers work with. Most are going to be working with healthy adults. That is about 3/4 of the population. You can see it goes down from there, working with older adults, overweight or obese adults, etc., etc. We do have individuals who work with athletes. That makes up maybe 1/4 of their full-time load. Youth, about 20%, etc. So again, this just kind of reinforces that notion that personal trainers tend to work more with the general population, whereas strength and conditioning coaches tend to work more with athletes. And again, this is broadly speaking. There are exceptions on both sides of that. And looking at just some kind of job announcements for personal trainers, this one would be at a local YMCA. So you're looking about a $23 an hour, which is pretty close to what we just looked at in terms of that average hourly salary. And you can see, their responsibility is exactly what you think they would be. All right, develop and implement individualized programs, work in conjunction with the Membership Engagement Wellness Center, maintain a consistent client base, etc. Oftentimes in a YMCA setting or another kind of fitness setting, these individuals are hired and might be paid a small base rate, like you can see here, about $10 an hour. And then ultimately, these personal trainers will go out and market their services to the existing clientele as an add-on service. That's a pretty typical way it works. You will get some organizations that just hire the personal trainers full-time, so they're not working hourly, and they would be their kind of pay would be included in the general membership fee. It just depends on the structure of the gym And many personal trainers, and this might be true of yourselves, if this is an area you're looking to get into, might start out in a position like this and then ultimately look to open their own gym or their own facility, kind of run and operate that down the road. Qualifications needed for that job that we just looked at. Again, you need that certification, and the YMCA is calling for the exact two organizations we've talked about, ACSM or ACE. Many of these full-time positions are going to require that college degree. So again, though you don't need the degree to sit for the certification, many jobs and careers are going to require that. You can see here they're looking at a broad, they're willing to accept kind of a broad range of degrees in that general exercise science area. So obviously our students would be qualified for a position like this. CPR certification, another one. Here we have a strength and conditioning coach. Job announcement, the Miami University in Oxford, Ohio. And as you just kind of look over this and notice how it's different than the personal training one, I just want to talk a little bit about kind of career outlook and career numbers in strength and conditioning, since I don't have those stats here on a slide. The average salary for a strength coach, this is based on a study that's 3 or 4 years old now, at the collegiate level was just about $60,000 for a full-time strength coach. And that number is going to have a ton of variance to it. On the upper end of that, we're talking full-time strength and conditioning coaches for Division I big-time football. You're looking at $750,000 to $1 million a year. You often see those salary numbers, when a head coach takes a new job, then he brings strength and conditioning coach with him, whether that's at Alabama, LSU, etc. So we're talking, the upper 1% of the field, the 10 to 20 guys who work in those big-time universities are making $500,000 to $1 million. Most strength coaches at a university setting are going to be working in the athletics, or be employed by the athletics department as opposed to a singular team, and they will then work with a number of the teams on campus. So I just know from my own personal experience, having spent a lot of time around the athletic department at West Virginia University, they did have one strength and conditioning head coach for the football team, another head and strength coach for the basketball team who might have done one other sport, and then I think 2 other assistant strength and conditioning coaches who then worked with a number of teams on campus, and they had a number of graduate assistants working underneath them. You do need that bachelor's degree to pursue the certification. Most jobs in the field, especially in that collegiate Division I area, are actually looking for a master's degree, especially if you're going to be the head strength and conditioning coach. So oftentimes you're looking for that master's degree. Let me back up one there. Sorry about that. They're looking for that master's degree in exercise physiology, exercise science, or kind of a related field. That's why also a lot of students will pursue those graduate assistantships. So they'll go somewhere as a graduate student, work as an assistant strength coach while they're in school. That pays for their schooling, gives them a small stipend, allows them to get that experience that's so crucial to getting that first job, and then move on from there. So again, you can just see here kind of the descriptions, right? Specifically supports the mission of the university in athletics by assisting institutional compliance and NCAA rules and regulations, designing and implementing strength and conditioning programs, making sure they're maintaining knowledge about compliance with the NCAA, and other duties as assigned. This, at the assistant level, they are looking for that bachelor's degree. No, they want that CPR certification. They do accept a few different certifications in terms of strength training through different organizations. We can see that the NSCA or the CSCS is listed first. So that probably would be preferred. They would like someone with 2 to 3 years experience. Their preferred qualification is a master's degree, and ideally some experience working in a collegiate strength and conditioning program. So this position really would be an entry-level position for an individual who just finished their master's. Right? They finished their master's, they have that CSCS, they've got the 2 or 3 years experience from their time as a master's student, and they would be, absolutely qualified for this position. So that kind of wraps it up. Again, I think most of us understand kind of really what these positions are and the kind of work these professionals are doing. My hope here is just to make sure you understand the qualifications and the steps you need to take if you were going to pursue one of these careers, and just give you an idea of what the job market and career outlook looks like. These positions are is true of many of the kind of careers and things we're talking about. A lot of it is kind of connections and networking, especially when we're talking that strength and conditioning, getting into that world, meeting individuals, and then kind of understanding that network. Most coaches are going to know other coaches at other universities. You work for one, and they may then know of a job opening at another school, and that's how you kind of get that first or second job. So that's critical importance. But the most piece is really being able to sell and distinguish yourself. Having that personality that really fits, being able to motivate athletes, or the individuals that you're working with. Those are the skills that set apart the ones who are really successful to the ones who maybe aren't so as much in those fields. So there you go. If you have any questions, as always, let me know.